Have Colorado Rockies star pitcher Jeff Francis going into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're going to be touching base with him today and just kind of getting his opinion on looking back at his career and going into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
For starters, I mean, obviously you must be excited, and you talk about when you got the phone call from the Hall and what it means to you.
Yeah, it's a meaningful day. This is the very room where all the pictures are. There's a lot of very accomplished people here in the game of baseball, not just players, but coaches and builders of the sport too. So really, to be considered on that level is a huge honor and not something I take lightly. So I try to use the day to help share the spotlight with some of those people who helped me get onto that wall.
Where were you when you got the phone call?
I was at home. I've heard from Scott many times. I've gotten to know Scott quite well over the years, and just thought it was another phone call, Yeah, it was very cool. And later that day, it was obviously announced on the news, and the text messages and phone calls started flooding in from people who I don't hear from very much. So that was meaningful too. And I mean, the congratulations and the well wishes from so many people is very meaningful to me.
I want to look back at your pitching career and maybe specifically some of the different accomplishments with the Rockies. How did you have success in some of the different preparation and things you had to do pitching at Coors Field? That's a little different animal than some of the other stadiums you had to pitch at. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think at the time it wasn't something we discussed a lot. I think we were a group of young pitchers who maybe didn't know better. Just to put it bluntly, we came up with the Rockies. It was all we knew. We had pitched in AAA at Colorado Springs, which really altitude-wise is even worse. We didn't have the expectation put on us that we were going to put up these dominating numbers. And when the idea is just to win the game and score one more run than the other team, not worrying about whether a 4.9 ERA is embarrassing or not, which, depending where you are, it can be. But, I like to look at my first 3 years there, having won games in the teens, as that really was my goal, was to go out there and just be on the winning side of a game. I think as a staff, we took that approach, and as we got older, we put together a year in 2007 that, was most memorable, and not a lot of other teams have been able to do either.
That leads me into 2007. Can you talk about how you guys caught fire and just kind of just took off, and just kind of how the momentum and everything just, was so much positivity and just what you guys were able to accomplish?
Yeah, there's so many good memories about that year as a whole, and that September-October run. We felt like we couldn't lose. And, I think it was another case of really not knowing any better. It was a group of a lot of young players who would turn into superstars, but really weren't at that status yet. And we went into the playoffs and swept our way through, and really just cooled off at the wrong time, and got swept in the World Series. But, to be able to pitch into a World Series is a career highlight for me.
Do you have a special story or something from the 2007 season that, or maybe even a turning point of that season for you, and such?
Well, for me personally, I mean, I went on hot streaks and cold streaks that season, but as a team, there was a turning point. We played a doubleheader in September against Los Angeles, where Todd Helton hit a walk-off home run, and anyone who's a Rockies fan knows exactly the highlight I'm talking about. It was just a day in September. We were maybe 5 games out. No one was thinking playoffs yet. But I think as a team, you could see in our celebration, we could kind of sense it and how big that win was. And that was the first day of our, 14 out of 15 to finish the season. So, Todd Helton hit a walk-off home run off of a closer in it from LA, who I don't think we'd got a hit off yet up to that point in the season. So, that was a watershed moment for the Rockies in 2007.
Especially with that home run and just some of the different things you guys went through. Like, how did the energy? Obviously, everything started to change for you guys. You just start coming to the ballpark believing we're going to get another one. We're going to get another one. Like,
not even believing, but just knowing. It was nothing. It was like nothing I've ever experienced. It was just. I mean, notoriously, Colorado, we have not performed well in Dodger Stadium. And then the last week of the season, we went in there had to sweep them and did, which I don't know that that's ever happened since or had ever happened before. And it just, everything came together at the right time. I was in the right place at the right time. Same goes for our team. And we rode a wave. We rode momentum and then just kind of cooled off right before the end, right before the finish line.
What was your nerves like going into the World Series, knowing you were going to be getting the ball and everything? What was going through your mind, looking back?
You know, I was a nervous guy to start with, so to say I was nervous is kind of obvious.
Sure.
You know, I was a nervous pitcher, whether I was pitching a spring training game in March or a playoff game in October. Certainly nervous. Certainly trying to slow things down. Wouldn't say it worked in my favor, but the Red Sox got the best of me that day. But certainly memories I'll never forget. And you know, win or lose, when you go through something like that with the group that we did, you know, you hear teams say it all the time. They got a good group of guys. You know, friendships I maintain to this day. Memories we love to relive and laugh about. It's a good time.
When you reflect back on your career, is there one game in particular or one start that really sticks out that you can really kind of hang your hat on and you just your face lights up and think that that day I was unhittable?
Yeah, I had a few where I felt unhittable, where I performed really well. I think over the course of 11 years or 12 years it was, 14 professionally, it's hard to hang your hat on one start because you know, you do it 250 times. Sometimes the bad ones stick out a little more. That's what makes us good competitors. Those ones hurt us a little more than the good ones. Certainly many games I was able to pitch in Dodger Stadium, was able to have success there. Those are good memories. Pitching those first two rounds of the playoffs and having success and being able to help my team win. Those are things that I can really look back and be really, really proud of.
Which hitter gave you the most difficulty during your
So
career?
many. At least one on every team.
Yeah.
There was at least one on every team where I felt like there wasn't anything I could do.
Wasn't sure if there was one that stuck out in your mind saying, oh, geez, we got to play, a 4-game set against set team and individual.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to Juan Pierre, who played for the Dodgers, who was a left-handed batter. Mm-hmm. I should have had no trouble really as a long left-handed pitcher, but he just saw the ball well. He would do his running bunts, slap bunts the other way, and his average off me must have been close to 500.
In closing, what's your when you look back at your career, what do you like to be remembered for?
I love to be remembered as a part of a team. Sure, my picture's going to be on this wall today, but I love that it says was a part of the World Series Rockies team. You know, that's a franchise that's fairly new in the world of baseball, doesn't have a long history, but to be part of that team that's so memorable for people around not just Denver, but the whole Rocky Mountain region, that means a lot to me. And it's always easier to share spotlight with teammates, in my opinion, and that's something I always prefer to do. So to be remembered as part of good teams, to me, is what's most important.